Welcome to Truth, the game show where we award a $1 million prize to the contestant chosen by our audience. We have 6 challengers hooked up to lie detectors, which I'll be monitoring. In every round, we ask each of them 5 questions chosen by our audience. Then we vote one off based on their answers. Let's meet our contestants. Why don't you each tell me a little about yourself?
I'm Joe. I'm 28, and I'm from Philly. Let's go Eagles.
My name is Alexis, and I'm born and raised in Beverly Hills.
My name is Sam. Hello. And I recently moved out here to Hollywood to get in the film industry. And I've been writing a long time before I even got to town. And I've got a lot of scripts. I'm willing to show them. Hit me up. And I'm very excited to be on the show.
I'm Autumn. I'm a California native, and I grew up right here in Los Angeles.
Hi, I'm Claire. I've never been on TV before. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
I go by Lilith, and I'm from Van Nuys, California.
Let's see what the audience wants to ask first. You're the conductor on a runaway trolley. There are 5 people ahead of you on the tracks who cannot get off the tracks in time. If you continue forward, you will run over and kill all 5. You cannot stop the trolley, but you can change to an alternate track where there is only one person on it. If you decide to change tracks, the 5 people on the first track will live, but the one person on the alternate track will be run over and die. Do you change tracks?
Wait, I'm a trolley conductor for a living? How did I end up doing that to make ends meet? I mean, geez, forget the people on the tracks. If I ever sank so low I'm driving a trolley, I'd probably jump in front of it just to end my miserable life. Jeez. No thanks.
You're the conductor on a runaway trolley. There are 5 people ahead of you on the tracks who do not have time to get off the tracks. If you continue forward, you will run over all 5 and they will die. You cannot stop the trolley, but you can change to an alternate track where there is only one person on it. If you choose to change tracks, the 5 people on the first track will live, but the one person on the alternate track will be run over and die. Do you change tracks?
I don't know anything about trolleys, but if I had a job driving one, I'm sure that they would teach me how to handle that situation in trolley school.
You're the conductor on a runaway trolley. There are 5 people on the tracks ahead of you who cannot get off the tracks in time. If you continue forward, you will run over and kill all 5. You cannot stop the trolley, but you can change to an alternate track where there is only one person on it. If you change tracks, the 5 people on the first track will live, but the person on the alternate track will be run over and die. Do you change tracks?
This is just basic logic. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. So I would change tracks to kill 1 instead of 5.
You're the conductor on a runaway trolley. There are 5 people ahead of you on the tracks who cannot get off the tracks in time. If you continue forward, you will run over and kill all 5 of them. You cannot stop the trolley, but you can change to an alternate track where there is only one person on it. If you decide to change tracks, the 5 people on the first track will live, but the one person on the alternate track will be run over and die. Do you change tracks?
I change tracks and hit the one person. The only argument I can see for staying on the current track is that I might feel guilty if I actively made a decision that killed one person. But one person dying and me feeling guilty about it certainly isn't as bad as 5 people dying.
You're the conductor on a runaway trolley. There are 5 people on the tracks ahead of you who cannot get off the tracks in time. If you continue forward, you will run over and kill all 5 of them. You cannot stop the trolley, but you can change to an alternate track which only has one person on it. If you decide to change tracks, all 5 people on the first track will live, but the person on the alternate track will be run over and die. Do you change tracks?
Before answering that, what you have to understand is that being run over by a trolley doesn't have to be fatal. I've survived it at least twice now, and after an extended hospital stay, I was completely fine. You just have to avoid being crushed by the wheels when you're underneath. So, in answer to your question, your morality question, of course you switch to where the one person is because there's just not room under there for a crowd.
You're the conductor on a runaway trolley. There are 5 people on the tracks ahead of you who cannot get off the tracks in time. If you continue forward, you will run over and kill all 5. You cannot stop the trolley, but you can change to an alternate track where there is only one person on it. If you decide to change tracks, all 5 people on the original track will live, but the person on the alternate track will be run over and die. Do you change tracks?
So if I stay on the first track, I get to kill 5 people without the possibility of getting in any trouble whatsoever. But if I change tracks, I only get to kill 1, and there's a possibility that I go to prison. Why would I possibly change tracks? Is this a trick question? Is there a way to kill all 6? If there is, I don't see it. I'd stay on the first track and settle for 5.
If you could have any superpower, what would you choose?
Immortality? I've heard nerds say like, oh, that would be a curse or something like that, but I don't believe that. That's BS. If I could choose anything, yeah, I'd live forever, for sure.
If you could have any superpower, what would you choose?
Shape-shifting. If I could shape-shift, I wouldn't have to work out and watch what I eat every single day. And I can still have this figure.
If you could have any superpower, what would you choose?
Any superpower? You know, I'd have to go with Mr. Mixelplix's magic. Now, it might be a deep cut for some people. He's great. He's an imp from the fifth dimension, DC Comics, and he's part of the Rogues Gallery of Superman. And if you can mess with Superman, you've got some powers. And I just like that he's wily and weird. But his one weakness is he can wind up in prison in the fifth dimension if he says his own name backwards. But come to think of it, I've never said my own name backwards. So, yeah, should be fine. Yeah, let's definitely go with Mixelplix.
If you could have any superpower, what would you choose?
Chlorokinesis. It's the power Swamp Thing has that lets him be one with plant life. I'd love to be able to communicate with nature on its own level. Plus, if I had a power like that, I'd really be able to help save the planet.
If you could have any superpower, what would you choose?
I would choose the superpower to heal like Wolverine. That would just come in so handy for me. It would save so much time. I wouldn't have to go to hospital every single time I got attacked by a wild animal or caught some terrible disease or was in some almost fatal accident.
If you could have any superpower, what would you choose?
Necromancy. Anyone can take a living person, turn them into a dead one. To take a dead one, turn them back into a living one. That would really be something. Just imagine, if you really hated somebody, you could kill them, bring them back, kill them again, bring them back, kill them again. And then they'd have to live with the anticipation, knowing that eventually you're going to find them. They just don't know when, they don't know how. Plus, having your own legion of the undead would be pretty useful.
What was your childhood dream?
I had a ton of dreams as a kid. What I wanted to do changed all the time, you know? I mean, wouldn't that be true for just about everyone? Who spends their whole childhood focused on one goal?
What was your childhood dream?
I'm a huge Disney fan. When I was growing up, all I ever wanted to do was date a prince and live happily ever after. Then I grew up, and I realized how unrealistic that fantasy is. I've dated a prince, and they're not charming like in the movies.
What was your childhood dream?
You know, my childhood dream was always to be the first or youngest person to accomplish something. Like, I would have loved to have been the youngest person ever to graduate from MIT, or the youngest person ever to travel to space. But as you grow old, you start to lose that dream, because when you're 9 years old and you publish an article in a physics journal, that's amazing. When you're 35 years old and you do it, you're just a nerd.
What was your childhood dream?
To be a corporate executive, live in a big house, and make a 6-figure salary. when I got older, I realized that a job like that would take up almost all my free time, and then taking care of a house of that size would take up the little bit of time I had left. Now that dream sounds like a nightmare to me.
What was your childhood dream?
Oh, I totally remember my childhood dream. It was magical. I mean, we didn't have any money to afford a TV set, but my neighbours did. And we could see it if you just, peered out the window a certain way, we could see across into their living room, and they would always watch game shows. And all I wanted was to be a winner on one of those game shows and just, oh my goodness, that was it for me.
What was your childhood dream?
I've always wanted to be possessed by a demon. That's still my dream. Maybe one day I can make it happen.
What's your most unusual talent?
I could change my own oil. I could also fix a flat. You know, people used to know how to do that stuff. That was like common knowledge. But nowadays, no one knows how to do jack shit. Everyone's like relying on others or the internet, or just people don't know how to do stuff. No one can do common guy stuff or girl stuff, whatever, anymore. I don't know. Everyone's so sheltered.
What is your most unusual talent?
I'm a really good cook. If I had to live in the old days where people had to cook their own meals, I could buy just fine.
What's your most unusual talent?
I'd say my most unusual talent is that I can solve a Rubik's Cube in under 2 minutes. And, it's not a world record or anything, but it's pretty good. I'll break it out sometimes, maybe if I want to impress a date, and then I'll say, now you try. Actually, that has had the opposite effect, though, because they felt that I was rubbing it in their face that I was so good at it. And then I try to tell them that I wasn't trying to brag. I'm good at making things awkward, too. That's a pretty good talent of mine as well. But yeah, I'll stick with the Rubik's Cube.
What is your most unusual talent?
I know how to survive in the wilderness. I can tell what's edible. I can build a shelter and a fire. I can clean water so it's safe to drink. Just survival skills in general. I don't like being dependent on money or on society, so I learned how to get by on my own.
What is your most unusual talent?
My most unusual talent. Because, I've got quite a few talents, but, it's funny because some people think that it's unusual that I can digest grass. Now, I couldn't always digest grass. Humans are not known for their ability to digest grass, but if you really persevere after the first, 40 to 50 upset stomachs, your body does change and it can do it and adapt. And, I don't recommend if you've got any kind of, IBS or anything, but other than that, totally works for me, saves me a fortune.
What is your most unusual talent?
I'm an expert at falconry. I have a small collection of extremely well-trained birds of prey. I find owls to be particularly useful.
The dumbest thing you ever did.
Yeah, so I was the toughest kid in my high school, right? Everybody knew that about me. There was this guy, though. He was 6'8", freakishly tall, big guy. Everyone was like, oh, he's tough. Like, oh, he could take you. I hated that. What, you're tall, so that gives you grit? Bullshit. So, plus the guy, he was in honors classes. He must have been a nerd. No way he could take me. One day, it got to me. I called him out in the hallway. I egged him on. He didn't want to fight. I said, let's go. Not only did he beat my ass, but he beat it so badly. It was just, I was bruising for days, man. Best part is, though, we became best friends, and yeah, the rest is history. I don't know, I picked a fight with a giant, got my ass beat. That was stupid. Yeah, that was stupid.
What is the dumbest thing you ever did?
I once bought this outfit and I posted on Instagram, #newoutfit. What I didn't realize is that I posted in the same exact outfit that I bought a few months earlier. People thought I was lying, but I just forgot that I bought the same outfit. People still bring it up in the comments to this day.
What is the dumbest thing you ever did?
Dumbest thing I ever did. How do I choose just one? Okay. I was camping outside a store waiting to buy a game console. So it was going to be released, and I wanted to get there early. I wanted to make sure that I got one. And I set up a tent. I was going to sleep outside the store. I was there for 28 hours in my tent. The night before the store opened, when they were going to sell the console, it was go time. I went to sleep in my tent, had my phone with me. I didn't have any way to charge my phone, and my alarm didn't go off in the morning because my phone ran out of juice. I woke up 3 hours after the store opened, and I did not get the console. I slept in a tent on a sidewalk, got back problems from it, for what ended up being no reason whatsoever.
What is the dumbest thing you ever did?
We heard they were going to cut down a huge area of forest, so about 20 of us went out there the night before to protest. We chained ourselves to trees so they'd have to delay their logging until they could get rid of us. Only we were in the wrong place. They were logging about a half a mile away, so no one knew we were there for almost a week. By the time someone found us, we were out of food and water, and we thought we were going to die. The guy who found us went to ask the loggers for help, and they had to cut down the trees we were chained to in order to free us. All we accomplished was getting an extra 20 trees cut down and almost dying in the process.
What is the dumbest thing you ever did?
Oh, well, that was sleeping in a dumpster. I mean, it seems like a good idea, right? You know, there's a lid on them, keeps you dry when it's wet. Unfortunately, I fell asleep and the garbage truck came by, and I woke up to find myself being tumbled into the garbage truck and being compacted in beside everything else. It took me 3 days to free myself from the block I was in the landfill.
What is the dumbest thing you ever did?
This rich couple used to pay me to sit for their dog. And one day he died on my watch. So I buried him in the backyard, replaced him with a look-alike from the local pet shop. The couple comes home. The new dog won't stop barking, yapping, nipping. I said he was acting normal during my watch. I got paid and I left. Anyway, he ends up biting one of them. So they put him outside, where he digs up the original, who turns out wasn't as dead as I thought. So they decided they needed to call me, text me dozens, more than dozens of times, asking me why I would bury their dog alive and try and replace him with an evil clone. I figured there was no way explaining my way out of that one, so I didn't reply.
That's the end of this round. We'll soon find out who will be going home after this message from our sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by Rebecca Cartwright. Have you been injured in an automobile accident or hurt on the job? Has your case already been settled and you've been awarded a large sum of money? Call Rebecca Cartwright, 555-1258. Rebecca is 25, single, and looking for a long-lasting relationship. Must love dogs. Now it's time for the audience to vote. Please enter the selection of the contestant you think should be going home. The votes are in. The audience has voted to send home Joe.
That's fine. My ex and her loser boyfriend would probably get the money anyways because our legal system sucks. So, whatever.